Hi, welcome. Thanks for tuning in today to The Widow's Gift. On this week's edition of What's Your Story, I'm changing perspectives. I have with me Olivia, my oldest daughter, and she's going to give a perspective of losing her dad, what that was like. And so here we are on today's episode, getting the perspective from the daughter's point of view. So, all right. Thanks for joining today, Olivia. Um, Tell us about your dad.
Well, thanks for having me. And my dad was really tall and very loud, very passionate, and very loving too.
Mm-hmm. What was he like? He was very loud. And what else about your dad? What can you say? Um,
Hmm. He liked food. He
yes.
liked to cook, and he liked to watch movies, and he liked to go for drives and to listen to music. And I don't know, there's so much I could say. He liked to vacation.
Yes.
He liked to have a plan for his vacations.
Yes.
He could sleep anywhere. He could drink a fully caffeinated cup of coffee and sleep at 6 p.m. He could be out, sitting at a kitchen table, fully uncomfortable, but completely asleep.
Good. Right. So, what's one of your favorite memories of dad?
Favorite. It's hard. I would say.
I mean, there's many. Just what's one? Good.
One of my favorite times with my dad was when we would drive to the grocery store. We would get our usual things, sparkling water and maybe pickles or cheese. And then he'd say, let's get ice cream. So we'd get Moose Tracks or something like Reese's. But in the drives, we would blare Hamilton, or we would talk church politics, political politics, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, any of those hobbies that he liked.
Yep. Excellent. So, how old were you when he died?
I think I was 17. Let's see, that was in January, so yeah, I was 17.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And what happened to your dad?
He was killed by hospital protocol.
He was. And what was that like at that time? Because our viewers may not know. What was that like? He got sick, and then what happened?
Oh, it was awful. Usually, what happened with Dad was that in the spring and in the fall, he would usually get sick for a weekend. He would get usual seasonal allergies, and he'd stay home. He'd cough, he'd be sick in bed, and then he'd be okay on Monday and go to work. But this time, he didn't go to work. He got his test results back that it was positive for COVID, and he couldn't go to work. Well, that was positive, obviously. So he stayed home, and he just didn't get better. He just got worse and worse and worse. The hospital that he went to originally was terrible. We couldn't see him. We had to park in the doctor's lot because there were no doctors. It was empty. And
yeah, we parked there because it was close.
It was close. There was no cars.
Empty, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you'd think that with all the news of hospitals being, we're so full, there's no room, everyone's so sick. No, that's not true. So thankfully, he got moved to a different hospital. That one was better. We could visit him.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
What do you remember feeling when the first time you got to see him? Because it had been a month since you'd seen him, I think.
I was just happy to see him alive.
Yeah.
I was just happy to see him. It wasn't easy. He had all kinds of tubes hooked up to him, and there was this one machine that kind of just collected mucus. It was kind of gross. But there was blood in there, and he just looked awful. He just looked bruised and tired.
He did, didn't he? In such a really, from a physical standpoint, a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
From our emotional standpoint,
Yeah.
it was eternity.
Felt like forever.
Every day was like 10 years, it felt like. Yeah. So the purpose of this is so that other people can hear our story, hear your story. I generally focus on the widows. Many widows have kids. And so then I thought it would be so helpful maybe to encourage other young viewers who might be dealing with the loss of their dad right now. In the beginning, if you can think back to 4 years ago, and it's been a crazy 4 years, but think back to 4 years, 4 years ago, what was helpful to you in your beginning healing stages?
Time alone really helped. In some ways that was really healthy. The best thing that helped me the most was quilting. Some ladies from our church, they were willing to teach me and they taught me how to quilt. So I turned his old t-shirts and work shirts into blankets. And that was really the best thing that helped. Because it wasn't pretending he was still there. Because he liked to look nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to keep a piece of him in something that I would see and use every day.
Yeah. And I love that you made one for me and one for Sophie too, because it's just very meaningful to see all those shirts that he wore all the time, that he actually hugged us in. And now it is like a hug from him to be able to wrap that blanket around us.
You can look back and see in old photos and it's, oh, we were on vacation and he wore this shirt.
Captain America. Or
right, or, oh, birthday dinner and look what shirt he's wearing.
Yeah, exactly. What do you remember, what was hurtful in your healing journey? I don't think people mean to be hurtful. I know I've probably said and done hurtful things to others unknowingly, thinking I might have been helping them, but maybe it was hurtful. Can you think of anything that you felt was hurtful? Or not helpful, let's put it that way.
People acting like he didn't exist.
Yeah.
That was hard because a lot of my friends couldn't understand and they couldn't relate. And I don't blame them for that, but he did exist and he knew them and they knew him. So when it's, oh, what are you doing for Father's Day? Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I understand you don't remember. That's like, I understand, but it's different.
Yeah. Well, and really, if you think about it, we still honor him on Father's
Right.
Day. So maybe we could just give people permission. Like if they forget that somebody has lost their dad and then they quickly say, oh, I'm sorry. Don't say that. Just say, oh, what are you doing to honor your dad? To bring his memory? Or how did you celebrate when he was alive?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
That would have probably been better in the initial stages for sure.
Yeah. And I like to hear, I think that's, obviously, we'd never been through anything like that before. And I think I felt like it was helpful to always tell stories. We always talked about Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that helped.
It did. It helped a lot too to hear it from people outside of our family.
Yes.
For like coworkers or distant family members that we didn't know too well. It was always cool to learn different sides of him. Because
agreed. Yeah.
I'm not able to learn this now, but I can through other people.
Right. Their stories of Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. On the like the obituary page for the funeral home. Yeah, I loved reading everyone's comments that they put on there. Mm-hmm. And I agree. It was because we all are one person, but we all I think I remember saying this early on when he died. Like, girls, I'm not the first woman to lose her husband. You're not the first girls to lose your dad, but it's the first for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're all grieving the same man from different capacities,
Mm-hmm.
you know. What would you tell someone who recently lost her dad? Because it's 4 years now. And not that we've arrived.
Right. I met someone who lost, I can't remember if it was a mom or dad, but I remember saying, I'm so sorry that you lost your parent or whichever one it was. I lost my dad so many years ago, and while he's not your dad, and your dad was someone who was amazing, I understand what it's like to lose a parent. That's probably what I would say again.
Yeah.
Because it's knowing that they're hurting, but knowing that who you lost isn't who they lost. And that person is completely different than who you have lost.
Right. Yeah. Good perspective. And one final question, I didn't have it on our thing here, but scripture, we're told in Psalm 34 that God is near the brokenhearted. Is there any time that you can think of from the past 4 years that specifically related to the loss of dad that you could say God has been there?
Oh, yes. In some ways, I feel like I've gotten dad back in like little pieces and new people I've met. And it's, oh, this person really likes Reese cups. And it's got that same reaction when they eat one. Or someone likes to try to sneak up and scare me for fun. And I'll do it right back. And that's something I used to do with dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, I see him just in little ways.
Yeah.
But it's comforting. Because I know it's a different relationship with those people. But it's a little bit of the same.
Yes. Agreed. Well, my goodness, thank you so much for being the first child perspective on this episode of What's Your Story. I really appreciate it.
Well,
I love that you shared, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.